We are alive. We are no longer dead. The audio is working. The video is working. We're two back. We're too many levels of back. Similar to Russell Wilson, okay? And Underdog's giving you a free square. If Russell Wilson has half a passing yard tonight, one passing yard, all he has to do is hit one passing yard, and you're a winner on Underdog Fantasy. If you download the Underdog Fantasy app and use our code right there, BDGE, when you deposit for the first time, just $10, not only are they going to hit you with the deposit bonus on there up to $1,000, they're going to give you this free square so you start off as a winner and you get access to the Big Dog membership for the remainder of the year. Rankings, waiver wire rankings, private Q&A every single Saturday. All right? So go grab that free square. And this is the video where we do game-by-game recaps. Every single Monday, y'all know the deal here, all right? We go into every game that was played on the Sunday, and this was a big slate, all right? Because we had no bye weeks. So there was a lot of fantasy points scored in this one, all right? If you look around your league and there was particularly high-scoring teams, that was the reason why. Not only did we not have bye weeks, so everybody got to play their best players, but there was just a lot of shootouts and a lot of points scored in general. Tight ends ended up showing up. I think I heard a stat today that Brock Bowers was the tight end 17, I think, on the week. He was like 5 for 58. 5 for 58 in week 1 of this year would have been good for like tight end 2. All right. So we had on National Tight End Day, when Kyle Pitts is balling out, you got problems. The league's got problems. All right. So shout out to the tight ends. Shout out to you. Shout out to me. Shout out to Russell Wilson. Shout out to Underdog. That's what this video is, all right? Game-by-game recaps, everything that happened yesterday as it relates to fantasy football, the injuries, the good, the bad, the fugly. So let's get into it, and right before we do, just one more quick piece of housekeeping that you might hear me talk about once or twice more this week. We are hiring within the company right now. We are looking specifically for Ruby on Rails software engineers, all right, mid to senior level peoples. You will be interviewing with JL. If you are interested in this role or know somebody that might be interested in this role, we are looking to hire 1, maybe 2 of y'all if you're good enough. There will be more information down below. We got a little page overview for the job role as well as an application that we will be closing off this week. So thank you to anybody that's applied thus far. And again, share if you know anybody top of mind. All right. So thank you guys for coming in here. We've got a couple hundred people, so we'll let the live streamers roll in, and let's get into the games here on screen. And we're just going to start off with Thursday Night Football, as we always do. An exciting game. And this was particularly exciting because we had 2 of our wide receivers back in play for the Los Angeles Rams. And that was Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And unsurprisingly, these dudes combined for 17 of Matthew Stafford's 34 pass attempts. That was their target total. Now, lot to talk about here, right? Puka was a very surprise active. We were not sure that he was going to play until next week, even the week after that. They opened up his practice window, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, we're actually kind of optimistic that this dude is going to play this week. So if you had balls of steel and put him into your lineup, shout out to you because he went 7 for 106, really big PPR day. I don't have him anywhere in fantasy. I would have been hard-pressed to throw him into my lineup. I'm not going to lie. So if you did, like, major respect. So he had a big day. Cooper Kupp had a good day, 5 for 51, ended up scoring the touchdown. Now, I will say the overall takeaway, like Stafford balled out, 279, 4 touchdown passes. Obviously, this offense was functioning at a level that we haven't seen in a very long time because all their pieces were back and ready to roll. And I think one of the underlying stories here is that their offensive line is finally like almost fully back to full strength and full health. And if you guys remember in the preseason, like one of the reasons that we loved Kyron coming into the year was they had a legit top 5 run blocking unit. And then right before the season kicked off, they lost a lot of pieces. Like they lost, Noteboom. They lost Jonah Jackson. They lost a lot of dudes that were going to make a huge difference on the offensive line for this team and just giving stability to the offense overall. So now we're seeing those guys come back healthy. Like we had Noteboom back for the first time, and the running lanes for Kyron were there. The pass protection was there for Stafford to let plays develop, and we're going to see this offense become more and more in sync as that offensive line continues to get healthier and healthier. As it relates to the actual wide receivers themselves, it's kind of funny how Demarcus Robinson can't do a fucking thing, but you But if he's the wide receiver 1, he plays like the wide receiver 7. If he's the wide receiver 3, he plays like the wide receiver 1. He is the Jerry fucking Rice of wide receiver 3s. Now, interesting to note, like Puka had the better day. Cooper Kupp, we weren't sure like what the complement of snaps were going to be. Now, people are like, oh, they were part-time players. And yes, if you look at just pure snaps of the team, Cooper Kupp and Puka were probably around like the 50% mark. But that was because they pulled them off on run plays. Like we didn't want these guys in there run blocking and risking them getting hurt. But when it comes to the actual route percentage you see here on Fantasy Life, Cooper Kupp ran 82% of the routes for the Los Angeles Rams in this one. Puka ran 65. So he was obviously a little bit more hampered. But the target numbers are crazy, right? Cooper Kupp is up to around 30% of the targets per route run. Puka was all the way up to 41%. So Cooper Kupp was almost back to a full-time player. The one thing, though, like if you just watched the game, I think it was pretty clear that Cooper Kupp is not 100%. Like he is definitely not his explosive self that he was in week 1. He's moving a little bit slowly. Like he doesn't have a ton of shake and bake after the catch. I don't know that it matters, though. I don't know that it matters when you're going to see, 30% of the team's targets, and he will probably continue to get healthier as the season progresses. I think both of them are probably at elevated risk for re-injury. I actually just made a trade last week prior to this game in your Idiot League Mates, and I sent away Cooper Kupp and Sam Darnold for Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. I had about 5 startable wide receivers. I had 3 startable quarterbacks. So those guys were just depth pieces at this point in the season, and I needed an RB2 behind Josh Jacobs really badly. So I think the trade worked out for both parties. Cooper Kupp, I still am like a little bit hesitant. Like I just feel like I'm watching that game, and he's less than 100%. And I listen to a lot of injury content throughout the week because I think that's some of the most useful content that you can consume to stay on top of players and stay on top of, ceilings and floors. And Pro Football Doc, Dr. Chow, who used to be the physician for the Chargers a while back, he was saying when those videos surfaced of Cooper Kupp running those routes against air in shorts at practice, he was like, those are not good routes. Like, those are clearly fully less than 100%, and he's favoring the ankle. So he was saying prior to the game, he was like, Cooper Kupp's going to be playing this game at less than 100%. And I think clearly, again, like if you watch the game, Cooper Kupp, I don't think was there. So I don't think it would be a terrible time to sell him right now if people are like, all right, Cooper Kupp is back, like you saw how he played, etc. Puka looked less like injured and more just like rusty. It was kind of like, it looked like it was his first game as a rookie. Like he was overly excited and wanted to do too many things at once, right away, all at the same time. Once he got his legs underneath him, though, he seemed back to the old Puka. I still think both of them need to probably play another game or two to get their full legs underneath them, and then you're going to start seeing the massive ceiling games that we got accustomed to over the previous years. Flip to the other side. Biggest takeaway from Minnesota is that Christian Darrisaw, their like all-pro tackle, went down, and he's going to be out for, I believe it's the rest of the season. That becomes a very big problem for this offense because Darnold has not really performed that well under pressure. And it's going to have a domino effect, in my opinion. The Rams started getting a lot of pressure on the backfield and on Sam Darnold in this one once Darrisaw went down. So that's something to keep in mind as you're, debating between Darnolds in one quarterback leagues or some of these secondary receivers. TJ Hockenson should be back, I think, next week, which kind of puts a damper on a dude like Jordan Addison, who I'd really been like relying upon. It's kind of funny. Like I've started Addison every week he was active, except the one week where he scored like 2 touchdowns because it was off of him. It's fucking, I hate fantasy football so much. I hate it so fucking much. Yeah, I think TJ Hockenson should be back next week. Maybe the week after that, but hopefully that will give Darnold a little bit more of an easier life back there without Christian Darrisaw. But Aaron Jones, again, continues to just monopolize all the work here. Ty Chandler didn't have a single carry in this one. Okay, let's move to the Eagles and the Bengals. Jalen Hurts, 4 touchdowns, 3 of them on the ground. This was tough as I'm sure if you were a Saquon owner, I was actually playing a game against the Saquon owner in your Idiot League Mates, and I'm down 13 heading into Monday Night Football. I have just George Pickens. It's full PPR. Straight up, George Pickens needs 13.1 or something for me to win. So I don't feel terrible about it, but I kind of feel like, coming off of last week, everyone's like, oh, guaranteed to get it. Of course, it Russ back there. I don't feel great. Like, I'm pissed that I have to watch this game and, like, pray that George Pickens gets 14 fucking points. Why did I even go on that tangent? Oh, because I was playing against Saquon. So, like, every time they got onto the 1 yard line, I was praying that they gave it to Jalen Hurts, and they did. And this was the reason, like, we were having a podcast in the studio a couple of weeks back, and people were, like, very down on Jalen Hurts. And I was like, man, he played fine the first couple of weeks, and then A.J. Brown got hurt, and then Devonta Smith missed some time, and now Dallas got, like, when they're at full strength, when he just has A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and you're seeing the success of the tush push, like, these are the types of games he gives you, like 40-point fantasy games. And I don't think they're that uncommon because this offense just runs relatively smoothly when they're at full strength. I still think they're, like, a little bit wonky and still have things to figure out, but this was, if you can boil down to, like, what is the Philly offense, it's this. Saquon workhorse usage, Devontae and A.J. Brown very involved, on the goal line, high success rate because of Jalen Hurts. So, nothing really to take away from Philly. On the flip side, again, this offense struggled in Cincy, 234 and a touchdown with an interception for Burrow when T. Higgins is fucking cone. What does he do at practice? What does T. Higgins do at practice? I don't understand. What is this man doing? Do they have him in Oklahoma drills? Just don't have him practice on Fridays. He has been injured more times than he's not been injured on Friday practices. It's pissing me the fuck off. It's starting to piss me the fuck off, T. Higgins. You're fucking pissing me off, all right? Because I needed you. I would have been able to play you over Jordan stupid fucking Addison in this game. But instead, all of us had to sit T. Higgins, and then this is what happens here. You lose by 20 points because the passing game goes into, like, let's just throw Jamar Chase balls at the line of scrimmage because there's not a lot of attention going anywhere else. When T. Higgins not on the field, opposing teams don't have to play anywhere else. And we see Mike Gesicki step up only in games where T. Higgins is gone. He turns into, like, their slot wide receiver. But this is an injury for T. Higgins that apparently, from what I understand, could be anywhere from, like, a week to 2-3 weeks if it's more severe. But the fact that he was, like, semi-close to playing this week probably indicates that he is on the better side of 50-50 for their next game. I think it's against the Raiders. So, like, please, God, fucking suit up for that one. T, we need you out here, brother. Yeah, that being said, I mean, we have more backfield split between Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Chase Brown being the better play here, looking more explosive, ends up being the one that gets into the end zone. Zach Moss did catch another 4 passes, but if we're looking at the actual splits here, we can break down the snap counts for you and the routes run and all that stuff. Zach Moss did get above the 50% roll. Chase Brown down at 48% of the pure snaps. But Chase Brown, it's weird because they've completely flipped, it feels like, from where they were in the beginning of the season where Zach Moss was like the early down runner, but this guy can't run for more than like 1 yard at a time. It's actually insane. And now Chase Brown is the early down runner, but Zach Moss is in on almost all of the third down snaps. As you could see here on the right side, you have Zach Moss playing on 57% of the short down and distance snaps, 50% of the inside the 5 yard line snaps, 78% of the long down and distance snaps, and 100% of the 2 minute and 4 minute drill snaps. So there's a clear divide. I don't think it's ever going to get to the point where Chase Brown is the 75% snap guy, but he still plays so many valuable touches or so many valuable snaps in that offense where like he's pretty much in every week like low end RB2 that continues to score touchdowns. I think he has 5 touchdowns in his last 5 games. Just a really strong like late round pick if you made the pick on Chase Brown. Also, this data is available to you on Fantasy Life. I've mentioned this week in and week out, but Fantasy Life, their utilization report, this is what we're using here, is one of, if not the best resource in fantasy football right now. It is available for a year membership. Like if you purchase it now, you'll have it all the way through week 8 of next year, and you'll like forget that you purchased it. So it's almost like you're getting it for free. And because we love you and we in Fantasy Life have a little bit of a partnership together, if you go get the membership right now and you use code BDGE when you check out, you will get 20% off. So I think it's a $100 membership for the entire year, $365, $20 off, 20% off, $80. So it is such a good deal if you want to do your own research. It helps with start decisions. But also you can look at things like team styles, which is like really, really kind of fun and a unique package here where you could run through like scheme and play action and shift motion and, you know, get a feel for how teams are operating. It's a very, very fun website to fuck around with. So go check out Fantasy Life and use our code if you end up grabbing a membership over there. Ravens, Browns. All right. Ravens did their thing as per usual. Lamar Jackson plays well. Derrick Henry gets into the end zone. Zay Flowers was like super questionable coming into this game. Didn't fucking matter. 12 targets, 7 for 115, playing like an every week top 15 fantasy player. Mark Andrews gets back into the end zone. So Mark Andrews has now become like a super startable tight end once again. I have a league where he is a dynasty league where I'm just in one of those spots where I have Lamar Jackson as my quarterback, so I continue to just throw Mark Andrews in. And I say that now. He's been great for the last like 4 or 5 weeks. But like the first 3 weeks, it was more like, fuck, I don't really have a better option, so I'm just going to keep rolling him out. And now that I keep doing it, it's come back, you know, tenfold. And Andrews has gotten more and more healthy, it seems, and become more and more a part of that red zone offense, which is great to see because, you know, we always kind of expected that from him. On the flip side, though, like we got to talk about the man on the thumbnail of the damn video. That is Jameis fucking Winston, man. There might not be a more likable player in the history of planet Earth, bro. It's like, I don't know. It's like Teddy Roosevelt. It's like Alexander the Great. It's like Jameis Winston, man. Jameis Winston out here, the most likable athlete of all time. That man's crazy. 334, led the NFL in passing yards for the week. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 8.1 yards per attempt, and more importantly, just like brought some fucking juice to this Browns team that was juiceless, man. They had not gone to the grocery store in what's felt like 3 years to pick up just some OJ, man. Little OJ with some pulp in it. That's what Jameis Winston just brought to the Cleveland fridge. All right? That man really came out here and beat the 5-2 Baltimore Ravens as a 1-6 team. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know what to expect here because I know that the chirps for Jameis have been loud, and for a long time, I was kind of nervous that, like, I mean, we saw Deshaun Watson just under pressure 24/7 in that backfield every time he dropped back. The other kind of like underlying note here, similar to what I was saying for the Rams, is like perfect timing. Cleveland's O-line, which had been the most banged up O-line for probably the first 6 weeks of the season, is now pretty much back to full strength. And they're a good offensive line when they're at full strength. I believe they were missing one player this week. They got Wyatt Teller back. And then next week, I believe they will have all 5 starting offensive linemen back. And these are the things that I try to stay on top of because I know like most, you know, casual NFL fans or just casual fantasy football players are not looking into offensive line injuries and things like that. That's huge because it means that Jameis will have time to operate back there, whereas Deshaun Watson did not. So that's massive for this offense. Will it make a difference for Nick Chubb? 16 for 52. Good to see him get the workload, but clearly there's just like very little explosion. He had a 15-yard run, which you could say is good, but that also means that he was 15 for like 37 on his other carries. So Nick Chubb, like, sure, he'll eventually, actually, like last week, he got a goal line score. He'll probably score a goal line touchdown maybe like every other week or every 3 weeks or something. But outside of that, his floor is not very high. His ceiling is really, really low right now. So I still think you got to like ride Nick Chubb on your bench for the most part until we see something of confidence that feels like, okay, you know, we're getting a little bit more explosion back from Nick Chubb. And I think we'll see him get better and better each week. But right now, if you're watching the game, like, there's just not much going on in that backfield. And there was never much that we expected because the injury was so serious and he's an older player. He's going to take longer to kind of like rehab from this. But good to see him back out on the field getting 16 carries, man. It was obviously a welcome sight for the Browns fans. The receiver core, man. So this was also, we weren't really sure what was going to happen. Jameis came in last game and, you know, elevated Cedric Tillman here. Now, Cedric Tillman was a dude like, I remember coming out of Tennessee, I liked him as much, if not more, than Jalen Hyatt. And I was kind of excited about both of them coming into the year. I didn't know what their roles were going to be in their respective offenses, but clearly Tillman is starting to play his fucking lights out here. And let me minimize myself so y'all can see the stats on the side there. Yeah, Tillman with another 9 targets, 7 catches, 99 yards, and 2 more touchdowns. So you're talking about back-to-back weeks where this man just fucking exploded. And it feels like he is, getting, building up this like real possession, Amari Cooper type chemistry with Jameis Winston as the team's like number 1 possession wide receiver there. So Tillman is like really intriguing going forward. And I think he's likely startable with Winston under center, who threw the ball 41 times, threw for 334 yards. Like, they're going to let him keep slinging it, similar to Joe Flacco last year. Elijah Moore, still very, very involved. Like, his targets, his average depth of target, his, yards per reception numbers are pretty awful, but like 12 targets, 8 for 85, that's a PPR day. Even Jerry Jeudy was getting involved. Jeudy, he's just so disappointing on every level. He's just like, this feels like his ceiling. No matter what the situation, no matter how many opportunities, like 5 for 79 feels like the best game that we're ever going to get from Jerry Jeudy going forward. Njoku continues to stay really fucking involved. Like, he's a top 5, top 3 tight end going forward for sure. 5 for 61 and a touchdown on 7 targets. There's just like not much more you can want from a dude like Njoku at this point. He's an every week starter. So I would say Tillman is definitely my favorite right now. Tillman's definitely my favorite in the wide receiver group. I think Moore and Jeudy will like switch off days when Winston needs to throw the ball 100 times. Like, them two will put up flex wide receiver 3 worthy days, but it's Tillman and Njoku, and then everyone else is kind of like borderline to me. Lions, Titans, this was fucking disgusting. The Lions, I think you guys have kind of heard the storyline at this point. Jared Goff threw the ball 15 times. They ran 40 plays on offense, if that, and scored 52 points. They had 6 ridiculous return touchdowns or returns just on special teams, 2 interceptions. They had 4 fumble recoveries. Khalif Raymond down here, 190 return yards. His average punt return was 38 yards. They also had a 72-yard kick return. Like, their special teams were special. That's all we can really say here. So not much to take away from Detroit over here. Amon-Ra 2 for 7 scores a touchdown though. Laporta 6 for 48 scores a touchdown. Demont runs one in and then also passes one to Sam Laporta. Jahmyr Gibbs looks fucking incredible. On the flip side, we did have a little bit of an awakening from Calvin Ridley. Ridley was a dude it's funny how fantasy works, man, because 2 weeks ago when we made a trade target video where we were looking for players that we should actively trade for, trade down the stretch, and Ridley was a dude I threw in there as someone you should throw in trades to get because the schedule gets so easy. And this was 2 weeks ago, and I was also like, D-Hop is probably a really serious trade candidate to move away, and that would mean Ridley gets more targets. But we've also seen Ridley get a fuckload of targets week in and week out and not do anything with them. This particular game, though, 15 targets, 10 catches, 143 yards. Does it make me feel more confident that he's going to be a good player going forward? Not really. Mason Rudolph, touchdown, 2 interceptions. I don't know that he has a strong hold on this job, to be honest with you. Will Levis might be back. They might still want to see if they can get a little bit more juice out of him or get some sort of momentum going. But Ridley, yeah, I guess you could play him as a flex going forward. If you're going to get these types of target shares, there's just no way that you can't produce as a wide receiver 3. Right? Hang. Time of possession. I actually want to see that. Where is that at? Yeah, look at just the yardage here. 416 to 225. They had 4 turnovers, 35 minutes to 24 minutes. Insane numbers from a bird's eye view, but obviously we know how the game actually went down. Pollard 20 for 94, 3 for 23 through the air. Didn't get into the end zone, so kind of disappointing there. Tajay Spears probably should be back next week. I don't know that it's going to make a difference for him, but yeah, Ridley and Pollard, and that's it. I should actually call out Nick Westbrook-Ikini. I think he has scored a touchdown in 3 straight games. So, yeah, that's that. I'm not going to actually give any actionable advice here. Next game up, we had the return of Tua. Didn't matter. The Cardinals still beat them 28-27. It was a good game, though. Kyler had probably his best passing game of the year. 307, 2 touchdowns. James Conner, 20 for 53, scores a touchdown. Trey McBride finally has his real assertive pop-off game, 9 for 124. Shout out to Tight Ends Day. Marvin Harrison has a huge bounce back after everybody was talking shit. 6 for 111, any touchdown, so you love to see them kind of get right on that side. Now, on the flip side, things started moving again for Miami. I still think, like, I wasn't surprised that we didn't see, like, pop-off numbers, even in a great matchup for the wide receivers. No matter what kind of injury you suffered, like, when you have to sit away from the game for multiple weeks, Tua was out for whatever it was, 4 weeks or whatnot, like, you're still going to need a second to ramp back up to, like, normalcy. And I think we saw that here. 234 and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 6 for 72, but got 9 targets. Jalen Waddle, 4 for 45, so another disappointing day. He had a pretty uncharacteristic drop that would have made the stat line a little bit better, but overall, Waddle's just been kind of a disappointment over the last, year, 2 years. He's just such a secondary piece to Tyreek Hill, and now that Devon Achane is such a player, he's almost become the third option in this offense. Like, Devon Achane now, in the games where Tua is the quarterback, has seen insane target numbers. I want to actually go to that. So we had week 1 and week 2 where he had a 27% target per route run rate, a 33% target per route run rate. Obviously, you see this dip off here. And then to his first game back, a 30% target per route run rate. That is a significant chunk when you think about how this offense has functioned the last couple of years prior to Devon Achane, like, really cementing himself as a guy or the guy in the backfield, where it was just Tyreek and Waddle, Tyreek Waddle, Tyreek Waddle. Now it's Tyreek, Achane, Waddle. So even though Waddle's still a good player, and I'm sure he'll have his good weeks here and there, he's a little bit less trustworthy, especially, like, going forward into the future. Really good player, obviously, but I'd be a little bit worried if I had him on my team, and even, like, dynasty a little bit too. I ended up making a swap earlier this year. I gave Brandon Ayuk for Jalen Waddle, so, like, technically I guess I won because the injury hit. But I don't feel great about having Waddle long term, to be honest with you. Achane, though, I think he was kind of the story here. 10 for 97 on the ground, 6 for 50, and a touchdown through the air. So you're talking about 150 total yards on 16 touches and the score. That is what we expected him to get. And I think, like, one of the takeaways here is, like, Raheem Mostert, 9 for 19, because he was getting a lot of goal line carries. He got 2 touchdowns. That's not going to happen every week. Like, I understand he came in as the goal line back here, but if you remember in the beginning of the season, when they got inside the 5, it was Devon Achane. So, case in point, if you have Devon Achane, like, I don't need to tell you that 150 yards and a touchdown, like, cool, we're really excited about it. I think there are going to be games like that where he also gets the goal line work. Like, this could easily just have been a 150 and 3 touchdown game, and Devon Achane is back to single-handedly winning you weeks over and over and over again. So, yeah, Devon Achane, welcome fucking back to our lives. Patriots, Jets. This is just disgusting for the Jets, man. Drake May suffered a concussion, 50-50 on whether he's going to play next week. I think it's probably a little bit less than 50-50, to be honest with you, which is unfortunate because he's been playing so well. Had the nice rushing touchdown. Jacoby Brissett came in and ended up managing the game really, really, really well. Ramondre Stevenson got in the end zone twice. Horrible on the ground, but did get in the end zone twice, so saved those fantasy days. As far as the receivers go, man, I thought Pop was going to be a good play this week. That didn't work. Not that, like, anyone really worked because, you couldn't predict Jacoby Brissett getting hurt, but Pop is clearly just, like, sitting there at just a slot-only player. 64% of the routes in this one. Jalen Polk did not play. Kayshon Boutte was all the way up to 86%. So he has now become, if you see the trajectory here, week 4, 23%, week 5, 59, 76, 88, 86. So he has become a near full-time player. It hasn't really amounted to much production. He did have just, like, a nice catch at the end of the game, but probably something worth noting with KJ Osborne down at 11%, Kendrick Bourne all the way up at 78%. This is someone that New England loves and just wants to continue to get involved. It's just a messy receiving core out there. On the flip side, we'll stick to fantasy here. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 113. It does start to feel like the narrative when Devontae Adams came over, it was easy to, like, go one way or the other. It was easy to say, okay, Adams and Rodgers just have such a good chemistry. Of course, Adams is now going to be, like, the one and just kill Garrett Wilson's target numbers. The other side of the coin there was, like, Garrett Wilson struggled so much in the beginning of the year because he was getting every single ounce of coverage from opposing teams. And this was the first game it really felt like, okay, Davante Adams' presence was the reason why Garrett Wilson really had the game that he had. Because Christian Gonzalez was shadowing Davante Adams this entire game and playing man coverage against him, which opened up Garrett Wilson, and that was never the case earlier on. Garrett Wilson had to continue to take the best cornerback plus a safety over the top. And now that's kind of converted to Adams for the time being. Another disappointing day. Clearly looks like, Rodgers and Adams really haven't played together in 3 years. So it is looking like it's taken a little bit of time to get their chemistry back down. Breece Hall, supposed to be in a smash spot, only caught one pass for 9 yards, 16 for 80 on the ground. He looked great. They should have just continued to he should have got 27 carries in this game. I think they easily win this game if they don't, for whatever reason, get away from him. The other problem here as a Breece owner is Braylon Allen getting uncomfortably close in carries there. 12 carries to Breece Hall's 16. I'm not going to look too much into it because since the new coaching staff took over, Breece has been an 80% opportunity guy. I guess the one problem kind of is when they kept getting down to the goal line, and if you look at the numbers of inside the 5-yard line, it was kind of nothing for Breece Hall or Braylon Allen for a long time, and then we started to see them split the goal line carries here. And right here, short down and distance snaps, we see Breece Hall at 29% for this week, 71% for Braylon Allen. Don't know what triggered the change there, but it's something worth noting right now. The Jets, 2-6, playoff hopes, just KY jelly on the hands, just slipping away here. Falcons. Super Bowl fucking runs directly through our hearts. The Super Bowl runs through. Kirk Cousins is playing so well. It really fucking pisses me off that on a week-to-week basis, every podcast I listen to, their opinion just sways on the Falcons, just depending on whether or not they won the previous game. We've looked good every fucking game. I know we got our shit stomped by Seattle, but fuck that game. Whatever. We've looked great 90% of our games. The passing offenses look great week in and week out. Kirk has looked very solid. Sure, he's made some bad throws here and there, but he has looked incredible most of the time. He is clicking on all cylinders. We look great. Darnell Mooney's the GOAT. Kyle Pitts, brother, 4 for 91 and 2 touchdowns. Let's talk about Kyle Pitts for a second. Kyle Pitts, still, I want to repeat the stat. Let's start on a negative note because I can't be going the whole video without talking shit about Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has not had a 100-yard receiving game since 2021. That was 4 seasons ago. He has not gone over 100 receiving yards since November of 2021. That is fucking insane. And I thought we guaranteed it happening in this game because I think he had the 91 yards at halftime. Kyle, bro. I'm going to say, though, this was the first game. He only had 5 targets, but this was the first game that Kyle Pitts actually looked like he was worthy of any of the hype that he's ever gotten. He looked really good and explosive on those catches that he made. A lot of the other catches, even the games that he's had up to this point in the season, they've just been dump off catches to him where he compiles volume, some broken passes down the field where the coverage just got broken. He's just wide open for no reason for a 50-yard play. Those 2 touchdown catches he had in this one, he overpowered the defender, looked like he had juice when he was running to the end zone. That shit looked like a different Kyle Pitts than I have ever seen. Will it last? Do I have confidence that it will last for more than 48 hours? Absolutely fucking not. But it was awesome to see. Shout out to Kyle Pitts, the GOAT. He almost fumbled. I think he did fumble on the 1-yard line, to be honest with you. I think that was not a touchdown that they reviewed and then ended up allowing it to stay. He did one of those where he was holding the ball at the 1-yard line and the defender came and knocked it out, but they allowed the touchdown to stay put. So shout out to the refs out there. Big win for us, though. 5-3, undefeated in the division, 3-0 on the road. Get the fuck out of here. On the flip side, Baker kind of pulled up and played well. 330 and 3 touchdowns without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in this one. And the big question mark was where did the targets go? they all went to, I mean, predictably, this is kind of what we said in the pregame streams and the live stream that we do every Saturday. Again, private live stream for all y'all that are Big Dog members. You can go sign up on bdge.co or just download the Underdog Fantasy app. Use code BDGE when you sign up for the cheapest way to get the Big Dog membership for the rest of the season. We said it's probably this offense will probably run through the tight end and the running backs. And that is what we saw. K-Dot and 10 targets, 9 catches, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Career day for him. Huge fantasy day. So anyone that picked him up and started him, shout out to you. Probably caught a dub because of that. Somehow outscored Kyle Pitts. But huge tight end games both in this one. Bucky Irving, 9 for 44. Plus 7 for 40 through the air. Rashad White, 6 for 29, but he gets it done through the air as well, 5 for 38 and a touchdown. So you're talking about a combined 13 targets for those two running backs on 50 Baker attempts. That's important. That's important because that's probably how this offense is going to have to dictate itself going forward. When we look at the splits of, let's just look at all the weapon splits here in Tampa Bay. So McMillan ran 90% of the routes in this one. He didn't do fucking anything until I believe Sterling Shepard pulled his hamstring in this one. So that's when he started playing more in the slot, I believe. He wasn't doing well. Didn't really end up having a good game. But going forward, if Sterling Shepard misses time and Jalen McMillan moves into the slot, that would be a huge upgrade. And for those of y'all that went in on him on the waiver wire, you got a little lucky there. Trey Palmer, 76%. Sterling Shepard, 73%. But again, hamstring might have him sitting out for a minute or so. And, I think both running backs, Bucky and Rashad White, are startable each week. I would still prefer Bucky moving forward. I still think he's a better player at this point, and we'll probably get more goal line carries. Packers, Jacksonville. So the Packers ended up having a huge game from Josh Jacobs. Shout out to you. I love you. 25, 127, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Now, the big story here is Jordan Love getting hurt in this one. Kind of like a weird, hard to explain what actually happened. I don't know what exactly the injury is. I believe it's now like a groin or a hip, and I think there is serious concern for next week. I wouldn't say long-term future or anything like that, but I think there is serious concern for his week 9 availability. I actually want to pull up the NFL schedule grid. Green Bay plays Detroit, so that would have been that game would have had like a 51-point over/under, and then they have the bye week. So there's a good chance that he has to miss Detroit, then they get the bye week, then he's back for the Chicago matchup. But that obviously means Malik Willis. Now, we've seen Malik Willis operate really well in this offense, so it's not like a complete dud offense when Malik is out, but obviously you have to downgrade all the receivers. Josh Jacobs will get a big workload, but we saw Jacobs have kind of like a similar workload actually in one of the Malik Willis starts, but then we've also seen a terrible game out of him with Malik Willis, and same for the wide receivers. So not real production for most of these players. Like most of the yardage here came on big plays. Like Tucker Kraft broke a really long, 67-yard play. Jaden Reed caught a 51-yard pass at the very end of the game from Malik Willis. So these numbers look a little bit better than they probably should have. Still ended up beating the Jacksonville Jaguars somehow. Another game without Travis Etienne, 18 for 78 on the ground for Tank, just clearly looking like the best running back in that backfield right now. Probably should have Etienne back next week, but hard to predict what that split's going to be. T-Law played relatively well, 308, 2 touchdowns. Now, we've got problems. Well, T-Law has problems in the Jacksonville receiving group here. Brian Thomas Jr., 3 for 60 and a touchdown. He ends up getting hurt in the back of the end zone on that catch, I believe. It is not exactly certain what it is, but they said like chest/rib injury. Now, it could be like a rib bruise or a cartilage injury like Jaden Daniels just had. We've seen other quarterbacks or players suffer that this year as well, which could lead anywhere from a 1-game absence to a 0-game absence up to 2 weeks of absence, so like you got to keep an eye on that. Christian Kirk broke his collarbone, so he's going to be out for the remainder of the year. I think Gabe Davis got hurt in this one. He re-injured maybe his shoulder or something like that. So I don't know who the fuck they're going to be throwing the ball to outside of Evan Ingram. They're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. I'm not really about to start Brenton Strange, who I think, you should keep an eye on is probably Parker Washington here. He might be the play on the waiver wire this week because he's going to fill in as likely their slot guy. He played a decent amount in this game after everybody got hurt, 74%. And we saw him fill in last year pretty admirably, okay? And again, this is a defense that just continues to allow 40 points a game and have to throw the ball a ton through the air. So Parker Washington is probably the guy I have my eye on. But, obviously keep an eye out on practice reports throughout the week. And I actually came across a fucking phenomenal resource this week that I did not know exists. Because, like I said, I try to stay on top of injuries and practice reports and all that stuff. But RotoWire has... Actually, how do I even find it? If you just type in on Google any team's injury reports, let's say like for tonight's games, Steelers injury report, week 8, RotoWire. So it'll be like RotoWire here. And they actually have an import of all of the injuries or all the injury reports for the week, broken down by day. I got to fucking make my dumb ass smaller. For all the players. And this is so fucking valuable. And for those of y'all that are not really familiar with how like the injury reports work, typically you'll get injury reports on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday if you're playing a normal Sunday game. So get those 3. If a player is Wednesday, injury reports are not really a concern to anybody. Let's go to like a normal team that played on Sunday. Wednesday injury reports are not really a concern for the most part. Those are a lot of like veteran rest days. Those are a lot of just like, maybe you're a little bit banged up from the game. Let's give you one more day of rest. If they go back-to-back DMPs, you start to get nervous. If they have 3 DMPs in a row, like did not practice, they're 99% of the time not going to play on Sunday. If they end up getting a limited practice in LP at pretty much any time throughout the week, they're very likely going to play. As you can see with like Ladd, DMP, we get nervous, limited, probably going to play. Outside of it, I would say like there are sort of constraints there. Like if a player missed multiple weeks and then he's starting to get limited practices in, I wouldn't take that by rule of thumb. Like for instance, like Cooper Kupp had a bunch of limited practices the week prior and then didn't play. Jonathan Brooks has been limited for a while. Like those types of guys who miss a lot of time and then get limited practice in, those typically have a longer on-ramp. But if a dude just kind of got banged up last week and then gets limited practice in, they are like 90% going to play, and I would play them at basically full confidence. So anytime like people just use, airtime and they waste their breath being like, oh, this guy's a little bit banged up, if they're practicing, they're probably fine. So I would just type the team in that you're looking for, put RotoWire practice report, and then I would just like bookmark this page, and you can come back to it at any point. So if you're looking for like we weren't sure, like Deontay Johnson, right? Like DMP. By that time, you're nervous. And you're like, okay, he's almost definitely not going to play. But if you had an LP here, limited practice, then we're like, okay, he's probably going to end up playing. He's probably going to end up playing this weekend, but that didn't happen. So just a really good resource that I would just favorite, bookmark, and keep that one going forward. All right. Speaking of moving forward, let us do that into the Colts and the Texans game. Let's start on the Colts side. Okay, so Rich, another just abysmal box score, 10 for 32. Now, it didn't look great. I went back and watched all of the snaps from the Colts side this week. And while his completion percentage was terrible, 10 for 32, 175, a touchdown and interception, there were, and it sounds like I'm going to make a lot of excuses, but I think here's how this game kind of played out. They came out ripping the ball. They wanted Rich to get like in a zone. They did not. His weapons are not helping him whatsoever. There was at least 5 drops in this game. We had Adonai Mitchell like bobbled the ball in the back of the end zone and didn't come down with the touchdown catch. I think it was on the very first drive, which was a beautiful throw from Rich. We had Alec Pierce, for whatever reason, run fucking out of bounds, then run back in bounds, caught the touchdown. They called the penalty on him for not having that. We had Josh Downs made the amazing catch, like in the end zone. Somehow they called him down at the 1. So we have 3 touchdowns. Oh, Tyler Goodson also dropped like another one in his breadbasket in the end. Like quite literally, Anthony Richardson threw 4 touchdown passes in this game that were all dropped or called down at the 1 or had some dumb fucking penalty called on them. They also botched a snap that got recovered. He also, at the very end of the game, like, trying to lateral the ball or whatever to keep the game alive or whatever, lost the fumble. So his fantasy day ended up being like 10 points or whatever. It could have just as easily been 20, 25 points, to be quite honest with you. And even after they got to the 1 yard line a couple times, they let JT get in instead of Anthony Richardson. Sounds like a lot of coping here. I'm telling you, though, I went back and actually watched the snaps. The other thing with this offense, dude, is like, I get that he has a big arm and we want to make explosive plays happen. Every single throw is past the sticks. 1st and 10, 2nd and 10. It doesn't matter. Like, they are not giving him any easy passes. It's really weird when you go back and watch. And I actually went to, I want to see. Oh, wait, actually, hold on. I wanted to see, this is not it. Because I noticed that while I was watching, and then I was like, I want to see how far down the field he's actually throwing the ball. Like, is it just a few plays that I'm not paying attention to, or was that real? This is not the fucking, I forget where I was looking, but I was looking at something, and it was like, it wasn't just pure ADOT, but I think his ADOT was around 17 yards downfield. I'm like, that is fucking insane. It was by far and away the highest of the week. They're just not ever getting into like 2nd and 4 situations or 3rd and 3 situations to allow him to like take some stress off. That on top of it, I didn't even mention he got sacked 5 times. He was under pressure on 61% of his dropbacks, which was also the highest in the NFL that week. So some of the plays he made to get out of sacks was wildly impressive. All to say, like, he's still making a bunch of bad throws, and the interception he threw was probably one of the worst throws I've seen. That being said, though, like, I'm not overly worried about it. I think if he gets a little bit more luck, if things break a little bit right in his favor, his direction, I think we're going to start to see much better games compile up as he gets more and more comfortable within this offense. And they're not going to bench him for Joe Flacco, so people just need to shut the fuck up. On the flip side, or JT, first game back, looked fucking incredible. 24-105 on the ground and a touchdown, caught a 12-yard screenplay as well. So good to have him back. And he does open up the offense when he is back there and makes things a little bit more comfortable for a Rich. On the flip side, we've got Mixon balling out again. Diggs, he's going to miss some time here. Diggs was hurt. Diggs is hurt. And we don't have any word on it, but most of the Twitter docs are fearful that it's an ACL tear. That's not great for the program because they're already without Nico Collins, which means Tank Dell is going to have to step up 4 for 35 and a touchdown in this game. So if you drafted Tank Dell, you got seriously bailed out at this point in the season. He's going to be someone that you could start week over week. There's no one behind them that I would be putting into my lineup. John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, just nothing there. Dalton Schultz, I think, is fine as a tight end because of it, but I'd imagine this offense is going to be just like mixed in Tank Dell, Schultz. Nico could be back from his hamstring, I believe, week 10, but that's not a guarantee either. So, Chargers, Saints. The Saints are terrible. Rattler got benched eventually, went to Jake Haener. Hopefully we get Derek Carr back next week. That's literally all I can say for them. On the flip side, Herbert played in a fucking amazing game. Lad McConkey balled out, 6 for 111, 2 touchdowns. Finally had his like breakout game, and hopefully we just kind of keep seeing that going forward. J.K. Dobbins, 17 for 57 on the ground, scores a touchdown, catches 4 passes for 11 yards. So I end up having a good PPR day. His efficiency starting to get a little bit concerning here. Like he, the beginning of the season, he was breaking away these long 40, 50, 60-yard runs, and it wasn't necessarily like anyone expected him to keep doing it, but like you'd expect some of them, 15-yard plays, 20-yard plays, whatever, to amount more so, but we're just not getting them right now. But, at the end of the day, 21 touches, like, what are we going to complain about here? So he's still a must-start RB2 week in and week out. Bills, Seahawks. The Bills just had their way with Seattle here. Josh Allen, really good game. James Cook, amazing. 17 for 111 on the ground, 2 more touchdowns, 3 for 22 through the air. He was kind of due for a massive game like this. And he just, every single time he touched the ball, he was just so fucking effective, man. Khalil Shakir had a career high day with 9 catches, 107 yards. Keon Coleman, for as good as Shakir and James Cook were, Keon Coleman on his plays might have been the best player on the field in this one. You could see that there was a very concerted effort to get Keon involved. His touchdown catch might have been, like, on paper didn't look that crazy, but the difficulty level of the touchdown catch that Keon Coleman had this week was like a 15 out of 10, 1,000 out of 10. It was ridiculous. Like, really, really tight one-on-one coverage in the end zone. The catch he had, like, you didn't really realize it at first. You just thought it was like a normal catch, but he had his left arm being held down by the defender, and he caught the other one with one hand while the defender's arm was coming. It was fucking insane. It was the toughest catch I've seen, and that's exactly why they drafted a dude like Keon Coleman, to be a possession type. Like, let me just chuck it up and let this insanely large athletic human make a play like that. So good to see. Keon Coleman's been sneaky, like really, really good for the last few weeks. We're starting to see that second half of the year rookie wide receiver kind of, bump here. That's something that, happens year in and year out. And we never really want to, like, follow through with it, because when you have the second half of the year rookie bump, that means the first half of the year was underwhelming. So it takes a while for you to, like, buy into what's actually happening here. And we're seeing it. Obviously, Amari Cooper got cut at the expense of it. Only one catch for 3 yards after people were really excited about him, given the touchdown in the first game he had with them. But this might be what the new, Bills offense looks like, where you don't really know where the ball is going to go. Shakir, 10 targets, Keon, 7, Dalton Kincaid, 7, Cooper, only 2. So I think Shakir has been the most consistent player in this offense, in the passing game at least. So I think you could start him as an every week wide receiver 3 for sure. Cooper and Coleman are both, like, I guess they're both wide receiver 3s, but probably more in, like, the flex zone for me if I had to really narrow down on, like, where I see their value at. On the flip side, we had a game without DK Metcalf, unfortunately, and they looked like they were missing DK Metcalf fucking badly. Nothing going on the ground with Kenneth Walker. Got vultured at the end of the game with his Zach Charbonnet touchdown. He still did catch four passes for 33 yards, so, like, yeah, no, it was still awful. JSN, 6 for 69, but all around just a game that you kind of want to throw out for Seattle. Broncos Panthers, talking about a game you want to throw out. How about for the Panthers? Let's throw out Bryce Young just into a trash can. Honestly, one of his better days, 224, 2 touchdowns, but we need Dalton back there, to be honest with you. Hurts everybody. Didn't have Deontay Johnson in this one. I started Xavier Legette in one of my leagues. Had to. Ended up going 4 for 34 and a touchdown. Jalen Coker, 4 for 78 and a touchdown. Wouldn't read too much into that, given Deontay will probably be back next week, and Coker's touchdown was like garbage time, last drive of the game type beat. Yeah, there's nothing more to say from the Carolina side of things. Maybe we'll see Jonathan Brooks soon, but that kind of feels like the same thing that everyone's been saying for about 2 months now. Bo Nix, career fucking day, of course, because I was playing him in your idiot league mates. 284, 3 touchdowns through the fucking air, gets in on the ground as well for a 4th score. This should have been a Javonte game, but it wasn't, because Carolina allows an insane amount of points to the running back position, but not in this one. They shut him down here, 17 for 44 on the ground. Not much going in the passing game either for the running backs. But for the receivers, Courtland Sutton had a big bounce-back game, 11 targets, 8 for 100 through the air. Bo Nix looked good, too. This was easily his best game. Now, again, it came against the Panthers, who make everybody look like they're an all-pro player. But just in terms of, like, the progression of Bo Nix, what he's turned into over the course of the season, it's super. If you're a Broncos fan, obviously super positive. Like, you're 5-3 with a rookie quarterback right now. Their opponents have not been great, so, like, I don't think this is real. I don't think there's a ton of staying power here, but obviously you'd rather see this than, if you're a fucking Panther fan, seeing what Bryce Young has become. Chiefs Raiders. The Chiefs win this one 27-20. Kareem Hunt keeps rolling, 21 for 59 and a touchdown on the ground. Mahomes 262 and 2 touchdowns through the air. Feels like it's been a year since we've seen 2 touchdowns out of Patrick Mahomes, but he gets it done. Huge bounce-back game for Travis Kelce, 10 for 90 and a touchdown. No one else was really doing anything here. When we look at the snap counts of the receivers, now we want to see what DeAndre Hopkins did. He wasn't overly involved in this one. I really thought he was going to get some chances on the goal line here, but that didn't happen. He only ran 33% of the routes. Did have a pretty strong 21% target per route run rate. He'll obviously continue to get more and more involved, so if I have D-Hop, I'm definitely holding him, and I think there are some good some really solid games coming up for him over the coming weeks as he gets more familiar with this playbook. Xavier Worthy still sitting around 75% of the routes. This man, like, if I have Worthy in Dynasty, which I don't, I want to know part of him. He just like can't. It's so clear that he's just like not more than this like trickery of a player, man. We're 8 weeks into the season, and I feel really confident saying that he will not be a 1 for any NFL team. He's just not a possession receiver. The size is a problem for him. You're talking about a dude who had the absolute nut draw of everything. This dude gets drafted in the first round by the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Hollywood Brown gets hurt. Rashee Rice gets hurt. And this dude's still, like, he did get into the end zone, but yeah, he's fine. He's fine, but I would easily rather own D-Hop over Xavier Worthy the rest of the season. On the flip side, everything about the Raiders is disgusting. Madison, 14 for 15 on the ground, 1.1 yards per carry. I kind of feel like I could average that if you gave me 14 carries. Yeah, not great there. We have Brock Bowers, 5 for 58. Another, if you get that in the tight end slot outside of this week, obviously, you're fine with that. Jacoby Myers, first game back, 6 for 52 and a touchdown. He's a nice floor player. Obviously, with Devontae Adams out, they have nothing else going on in that passing game. So I think Jacoby Myers is certainly playable going forward, especially in bye weeks. And I think next week we have 2 teams on bye. I want to say it is Pittsburgh, and it is, let's see, we got the schedule grid here. Week 9 bye, we've got, Pittsburgh and San Francisco. All right, so you've got Pickens, Najee, maybe Pat Freiermuth. You got Debo, Kittle, Jordan Mason, Brock Purdy, that type beat. Let's move on to fucking game of the day here. Obviously, Jaden Daniels walked it off with that Hail Mary at the end of the game to beat the Chicago Bears 18-15. I mean, on a down-by-down basis, Washington honestly kicked the shit out of Chicago. They just had another one of those games where they couldn't finish drives and kept kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns, and Chicago was dreadful on offense. Their team was so bad. Swift ended up going 18 for 129 and a touchdown only because he broke away that 56-yard run. Of course, fucking you're idiots. I was playing against him, Shakir, Bo Nix, all these motherfuckers in the 4 o'clock window. Gave me hope and then snatched it from me. It was mostly Washington dominating this game until that big run by DeAndre Swift. Caleb was not a good game. I think one of the takeaways from this week is like we are starting to see defenses and units come into form here. A lot of teams that we assumed were going to be really bad have started to progress into something much better, and they're not just like pushover defenses. Washington comes to mind, where they were just a gaping hole everywhere in every aspect of defense earlier on in this year. They're not really that anymore. They're not like an absolute cakewalk anymore. Where, listen, I get it. They played Chicago. They let up 15 points. They played the Panthers. They let up 7 points. So it's not a huge deal, but the Browns, 13 points. The Cardinals, 14 points before that. Baltimore puts up 30 points against everybody. But, like, Washington, I don't think they are, like, I don't think I see them and then I say, like, okay, they're a top 3 matchup every single week, week in and week out. I think that's one of the takeaways here. And there are a few other teams, I'm trying to think of who comes top of mind that I start to think about that way with. Who else was I even fucking? Oh, the Colts is another one where they're getting healthier with like DeForest Buckner back. They're another one where I don't think they're just like pushovers. The LA Rams, they've hit on a couple rookies, or like Jared Verse has been a fucking beast. Brandon Fisk has been good. They switched up a lot of their coverage the last few weeks and looked a lot better there. So they're not like the pushover, rollover defense that they were in the beginning of the year either. And on the flip side, though, like you have teams like Seattle who's completely imploded. The New York Jets have completely fucking imploded. Tennessee's looked a lot worse over recent weeks as well. So just things like that to keep in mind and be conscious of as the season progresses, because teams get better. Especially, you'll see that a lot with new pieces and new coaching staffs in particular, where teams just progress towards the second half of the year as these coaching staffs, start to implement like their system and understand what pieces, because they're new around all these players, so they're not exactly sure how it's all going to fit together. The more games you play, the more data you have, the more sample size you have to start putting the pieces together in short order there. So Jaden Daniels, 326 and a touchdown through the air. B-Rob, 16 for 65, relatively quiet day for him, just didn't get into the end zone. Terry, 5 for 125, big day. Zach Ertz, 7 for 77, big day for every fucking tight end that is alive right now. That's really it. And we'll move on to Sunday Night Football. Okay, so we got the Niners and we've got the Cowboys. The Niners win 30-24. Dak Prescott, 243, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Zeke gets 10 carries, 34 yards, and a touchdown. We had Rico Dowdle randomly ruled out with like sickness before the game started. So if y'all had Rico Dowdle in your lineups, you kind of got fucked there. If you had CeeDee Lamb in your lineups, you got the opposite of fucked, because he went 13 for 146, 2 touchdowns. This was something I was talking about in the Saturday Sit Start live stream. Is like, y'all remember post-bye Dallas last year? You guys remember second half of the season last year for Dallas, where it was Dak QB1, CD wide receiver 1. 17 fucking targets in this game for CeeDee Lamb. That is I don't have the number, 17 out of 38 is what? Fucking 41% target share. That's insane. So he probably single-handedly won you your week, unless you, for whatever reason, started Kyle Pitts and Kate Otten together and George Kittle. Like, you just flexed 17 tight ends this week. CeeDee Lamb popped. Disappointing game from Tolbert. Disappointing game from Jake Ferguson. I'm still okay starting them as long as Brandon Cooks is out. On the flip side, we do have some things to talk about here. Purdy, 260 and a touchdown through the air. Also goes 8 for 56 and a touchdown on the ground. Now, we weren't sure how this receiver room was going to shake out because all of the injuries. Jawan Jennings did not end up playing. Debo did end up playing. So did George Kittle. George Kittle continues to be a fucking animal this year. 6 for 128 and a touchdown through the air. Ricky Pearsall, 4 for 38. But did add, it's fucking crazy. I had him in a slip on Underdog this week that had him under, I think his line was literally 38.5. And I took the lower on it. And he had 38 yards in the first, he had 38 receiving yards in the first half. And I fell asleep in like the third quarter. So I woke up this morning to check. And I was like, fuck yeah, Ricky Pearsall lower than 38.5 receiving yards. And I realized in the slip I took lower than 38.5 rushing plus receiving yards. He had the carry of 39 yards. Just fucking, that's just how this weekend went, brother. That's how it went, brothers. So not great for the program. But C-Mac should hopefully be back post week 10 bye or week 9 bye. So that has been the optimism around the team right now. And I don't see a reason as to why I shouldn't believe them for the time being. I believe they're going to get in a limited practice soon, and we'll get some report out of it. Jordan Mason got banged up in this one. I believe he re-injured his shoulder, and that gave way to Isaac Guerrero, who was one of my preseason faves as a late-round rookie pick. He looked awesome, 14 for 85 and a touchdown, looked really explosive. Still looks relatively raw as a runner, but when you give him holes, man, he is tough to bring down and he is tough to catch. So very fluid situation. Maybe C-Mac, maybe Jordan Mason, maybe neither, maybe just Isaac Guerrero. Like, keep an eye on it. Obviously, there's the bye week, so we have some time to kind of figure out what's going on there. I think if I'm like a C-Mac owner, I might throw a $0 fab bid on Guerrero and just hold him through the bye. For the receiver position, obviously you're playing Kittle and Samuel every week. I think Juwan should almost definitely be back after the bye, which will hurt Ricky Pearsall, I'm assuming. They'll probably split snaps as the wide receiver 3, or the weapon 3, I should say, in this offense. And I want to say that might be all I have for right now, because I actually want to check my my picket slip. So, I was talking about how I took the Pearsall under 38.5. You could track all the bets that I make, whether they're on Underdog or a different sports book or whatever, on Pickett. This is a free-to-download app. The desktop version is, I believe, a paid premium version. But if you download the Pickett app, it's free to download. If you enter BDGE in the code spot, which again, you don't have to pay anything. It's, no credit card required. It will automatically follow my account on there, and they will give you a free, I think like $5 for no fucking reason. So go download the Pickett app. That will be linked down below. Literally just go download it. It's free. Put in BDGE when they ask for the code. It'll follow me on there. And then if you're using multiple sports books, if you're putting bets on Underdog and DraftKings and FanDuel and whatever, it tracks all of them in one spot for you. And then you could look at your calendar. Yeah, my calendar is a lot of red there. But big day on the 22nd, though. How you doing? We're getting it all back tonight. We're getting it all back tonight on Georgie Pickens, baby. But yeah, you can go look at your history. You can go look at anything you want from any portion of the calendar. Yeah, my shit be looking like a fucking 14-year-old kid who scratches his pimples off. It's not great. Yeah, go down to the Pickett app. It is fucking awesome for tracking bets, all right? And I want to say that's all I got for week 8. Did I miss anything obvious or glaring? All right. Well, we will wrap it up there. As always, I will be back for the waiver wire video tomorrow, so subscribe for that. If you just want to get right to the waiver wire rankings, you could do so by becoming a Big Dog member. One of two ways. You can either head over to bdge.co and become a Big Dog member on there. It's a monthly membership. Or go take this Russell Wilson free line, 0.5 passing yards tonight on Underdog Fantasy. Go download the app, deposit $10 or more using code BDGE. You'll get this free square. You'll get access to the Big Dog membership for the remainder of the season free just by depositing on Underdog Fantasy with our code. All right, go hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll leave you with this because we're fucking hiring, so go apply if you're a Ruby on Rails developer. Love you. Smoochies.